This is Tim with Hiking for Life, and today we're coming from a very special place. We're high in the Hollywood Hills in a section called the Bird Streets. And the Bird Streets is located right over the Sunset Strip. If you go right down below us, you'd hit like the Roxy, the Whiskey, Tower Records, places like that. And it's a pretty swanky section of LA, I'd have to say. But the real reason we're up here, there are a couple of just kick-ass rock and roll houses to give you a look at. One is super famous, the other's very obscure, and there's a big surprise involved in the whole thing too. So let's get to it. So then, we're on Blue Jay Way, and I think you know what's coming. The first house we're going to come to is 1567 Blue Jay Way. This is the famous house that George Harrison wrote the eponymous song about, Blue Jay Way. And what had happened is Harrison and his wife Patty Boyd had flown in from London that night. This was August 1st, 1967. They had flown in. It was a long flight. They got here at night. They were burned out. She went to bed. He was supposed to stay up and meet Derek Taylor. Derek Taylor was the Beatles publicist in the early days. He went on to co-write I Me Mine, which was George Harrison's biography in 1980. He was a co-writer. He was very close friends with George. So George said, yeah, I'll stay up and wait for you. And which is essentially what the song is about, Please Don't Be Long. He was really tired. Derek Taylor got caught up with something. He got lost. And he ended up being very, very late. This is the house that it all happened at. George did what creative people do. He decided to write a song. He was waiting around. That's what creative people do, and that's what he did. And there was an old, dusty, small Hammond organ inside. The guy hadn't used it that he rented the place from for years. He got it out and he wrote Blue Jay Way. And if you listen to it, what I think is interesting about it, it's very done in a, even though it's a Western instrument, it's really done in an Indian style, like the stuff he was doing at that time, except there's no sitar. The organ's the main instrument. All right, time for our next stop. This next story is not as famous as this. It's quite a bit more obscure, but I think you'll find it every bit as interesting, and there is a big surprise that goes with it. So in 1969, Paul Simon of Simon and Garfunkel rented this next house. And the reason he rented a house in LA is Art Garfunkel decided to shoot a movie called Catch-22. The director was Mike Nichols, who of course did The Graduate a couple years earlier and really made them stars by putting Mrs. Robinson in it. And so he rented a house here to be near Art Garfunkel. A little back history. In 1964, October 1964, Simon and Garfunkel released their first album under their name. And it was a little folk album. It was Paul Simon playing and both of them singing, and it flopped. They broke up. Paul Simon went to England. He was busking in the subway a year and a half later. All of a sudden, he sees that he's charting with The Sound of Silence. And what had happened was the producer thought it was such a great song. His name is Tom Wilson. He later went on at Columbia to produce Like a Rolling Stone for Bob Dylan. He loved the song and he decided to need orchestration. He put electric guitar, he put, drums, all the stuff you hear in it now. And, the rest is history. It kind of, skyrocketed the career. So, as you can see, we're walking back down the other way. A couple of great songs came out of this next house. They recorded Bridge Over Troubled Water while they were here, the album, the basic tracks for it. But the song that came out of this house specifically was Cecilia. It was written while they were here after a party one night. It was Paul Simon, Art Garfunkel, a couple other people, his brother Eddie Simon. And they were making a rhythm with, hitting their thighs and hitting drumsticks on a piano bench. And Simon was really taken with this, so he eventually brought it to the studio and had the producer, Roy Halley, make it into a rhythm he could play guitar to, and the song became Cecilia, which is a terrific song. And Saint Cecilia is the patron saint of musicians and songwriters. I always wonder why, or if that's why he chose the name for it. The other really great thing that happened here is he finished the song Bridge Over Troubled Waters. At first it was a shorter song with 2 verses. Art Garfunkel requested that he make it longer, And he was watching his girlfriend one day here look into the mirror. She discovered some gray hair, and that's where the line "Sail on Silver Girl" is from. And I think that "Bridge Over Troubled Waters" is arguably one of the best songs ever written, at least in the top 10 by my thing. And this is a big surprise. It's the same house. I mean, how about that? Blue Jay Way here, exactly 2 years later. Bridge Over Troubled Waters. Unbelievable. Hey, so this is Tim with Hiking for Life, and we're going to wrap it up right here. The George Harrison, Paul Simon, Art Garfunkel house here on Blue Jay Way. And if you want to know what I think inspired these guys to write this great music, I think it was the view they got outside their window here. I don't know. I think that has an effect on an artist, or anyone for that matter. But if you haven't done it already, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. We really appreciate that. And for Tim, keep rocking, keep hiking. See you later.